Part 1. Violence and Criminal Behavior. 1. Violence and Incitement. We aim to prevent potential offline harm that may be related to content on Facebook. While we understand that people commonly express disdain or disagreement by threatening or calling for violence in non-serious ways, we remove language that incites or facilitates serious violence. We remove content, disable accounts, and work with law enforcement when we believe there is a genuine risk of physical harm or direct threats to public safety. We also try to consider the language and context in order to distinguish casual statements from content that constitutes a credible threat to public or personal safety. In determining whether a threat is credible, we may also consider additional information like a person's public visibility and vulnerability. Do not post threats that could lead to death and other forms of high-severity violence of any target or targets where threat is defined as any of the following: statements of intent to commit high-severity violence or calls for high-severity violence unless the target is an organization or individual covered in the Dangerous Individuals and Organizations policy. Including content where no target is specified, but a symbol represents the target and/or includes a visual of an armament to represent violence, or statements advocating for high-severity violence unless the target is an organization or individual covered in the Dangerous Individuals and Organizations policy, or aspirational or conditional statements to commit violence unless the target is convicted of certain crimes or is a member of a dangerous organization. Threats that lead to physical harm or other forms of low-severity violence towards private individuals, self-reporting required, or minor public figures where threat is defined as any of the following: private individuals' name and/or face match are required, or minor public figures that includes statements of intent, calls for action, advocating, aspirational or conditional statements to commit low-severity violence, imagery of private individuals or minor public figures that has been manipulated to include threats of violence either in text or pictorial, adding bullseye, dart, gun to head, etc. Any content created for the express purpose of outing an individual as a member of a designated and recognizable at-risk group. Instructions on how to make or use weapons if there's evidence of a goal to seriously injure or kill people through language explicitly stating that goal, or photos or videos that show or stimulates the end result, serious injury or death, as part of the instruction. Unless the aforementioned content is shared as part of recreational self-defense for military training purposes, commercial video games, or news coverage, posted by page or with news logo. Providing instructions on how to make or use explosives, unless there is clear context that the content is for a nonviolent purpose, for example part of commercial video games, clear scientific/educational purposes, fireworks, or specifically for fishing. Any content containing statements of intent, calls for action, or advocating for high or mid-severity violence due to voting, voter registration, or the outcome of an election. 2. Dangerous individuals and organizations. In an effort to prevent and disrupt real-world harm, we do not allow any organizations or individuals that proclaim a violent mission or are engaged in violence from having a presence on Facebook. This includes organizations or individuals involved in the following: terrorist activity, organized hate, mass or serial murder, human trafficking, and organized violence or criminal activity. We also remove content that expresses support or praise for groups, leaders, or individuals involved in these activities.